What's going on, Miami football, South Florida fans? It is your boy MusiqNerd, and I am here with off on Monday night's matchup preview when it comes to Louisville versus Miami, which is one of the marquee ACC games and probably our marquee ACC game, besides, of course, Florida State coming up in 2 weeks. But first thing is first, and heading to Louisville, Kentucky this weekend is first. So let's get into it. Louisville has lost 2 games already, but both of them two very good teams, very good ranked teams, top 15 caliber teams right now, Notre Dame and SMU. So does that mean anything? No, it really doesn't. That means Louisville wasn't able to get the job done where it probably should have. I think that Louisville is a bit better than SMU, and I think that they won't get away. I will never ever say Notre Dame is good on this podcast as long as I live. So that's y'all know how I feel about Notre Dame, A, B, N, D, everybody, anybody but Notre Dame. But going over that game, I really do feel that that's probably the only game they probably should have definitely lost. To be honest, I don't really think that was as close as the final score was. I do think they should have won the SMU game. I think that they kind of let that one go with turnovers and just pace of play, and the fact that it was at home too was probably discouraging for them. They probably wish they had that one back. But let's get into it. When it comes to the matchups that are most important in this Louisville versus Miami game, really it's going to come down for Miami, Cam Ward versus Louisville's defense. Louisville's defense has given up 275 yards passing to anyone who can basically get 275 passing yards against them. Basically anyone but Riley Leonard and Austin P to it. So the expectation, of course, for Cam Ward to kind of go crazy, but when you have that type of discrepancy, I think you always have to be careful in the way that you approach it. I'm hoping that Miami can kind of, mix up their scheme a little bit and still rely on the passing game because that's what you're best at. Your best asset is Cam Ward and, of course, the offensive line. But you have to make sure that you're doing it the correct way because I think one thing I hope that Cam Ward is able to kind of, take some of the snacks instead of the big meals that he was trying to get against Cal. Because you look at some of the throws that he made, there were so many times that Damian Martinez and Mark Fletcher were open for a good 5-10 yards, and you know what they can do after the catch. Hopefully he had reviewed that film and he's able to take it and be a little bit more patient. Patience is not the right word. Basically, to be a little bit more proactive and be a little bit smarter, and not just hoping for the big play. Because I guarantee you Louisville's going to play back and try to limit the big play as much as possible when it comes to this game. So that leads me to what I think is the second most important matchup in the game. I think it's going to be Miami's O-line against Louisville's defensive line. Miami's O-line get Jalen Rivers back. Hooray, good, great. That is good news because that is our other All-American caliber lineman on there. We already have 2 on the right side with Maligo and now that. But getting Jalen Rivers back is going to be a big difference. And shout out to McCoy. I think he did a great job. I mean, Miami has the number 1 offense in college football with him not being our first choice at left tackle, which I think is still impressive. But the fact of the matter is what we have seen, and I think a lot of Miami fans have said, is that how much we really missed Jalen Rivers by how he's played. Now, that's being said, he still grades out very well. He still played very well, in my opinion. It's just Jalen Rivers, I think, is a little bit better. And I think gels better with this offensive line. So I expect the running game to be much better because this is a very talented defensive line that Louisville has. Probably the best one we'll face until, on paper, Florida State. I know Florida State was supposed to have a great defensive line. It has not looked that way. Florida State has talent, but Louisville has the coaching and the players. Now, they haven't really lived up to their billing either. They're not sacking the quarterback at a very high rate and not doing that. But we all know all that goes out the window when these teams play Miami. This is their Super Bowl usually, and they're going to play out of their minds. And, they're going to play as good as they can. Like people who are supposed to have 6 sacks on the season, even though they only have 1, will probably get them all in this game. That's how it goes. So, 1, you have to establish the run, I feel, in this game. Now, a lot of people talking about, no, don't establish the run to take away from the pass. For me, I feel like if Miami ran the ball, or at least they stuck with it more consistently in the Cal game, I don't think it gets to that point. That 4th and 2 where they had out Arroyo, I think if you run with Martinez, you get that, you have that ball, then, you're up 14-7 instead of down 14-7 to Cal because you get that if you just have Martinez or Fletcher run through that instead of trying to be cute and get Arroyo out in the corner. Cal's a very disciplined defense. You weren't going to get that, I feel, in my opinion. I think you have to establish the line of run. You're the bigger team. You're the more physical team. I think you got to show it, and I think that Miami wants to do that. I think they want that to be their identity. Now, they have this brand new, incredible thing in Cam Ward, and I think they sometimes get away with it and being in the air raid, but I think what makes the air raid, the type of air raid that we play, more effective is the use of the running backs. So I think Damian Martinez and Mark Fletcher Jordan Lyle, even Chris Johnson Jr., and even AJ Allen. I think they're going to be huge in this game. I think they can be because I think there are going to be a lot of opportunities for them to get yards, whether it's in the passing game or in the running game. And I think that really depends on how the offensive line plays, which I think will play very well with Jalen Rivers back. Now, the third and I think the most important matchup for us is Miami's defensive backfield against these wide receivers of Louisville and a very good freshman running back for Louisville as well. The big issue over the last 2 weeks has not really been so much can Miami stop defenses, because really they can. What it's been has been the lack of tackling in the Virginia Tech game and the big plays that they gave up in the Cal game. Cal only had 300 yards of offense, but they had 200 yards of offense through 4 plays. So that tells you what happened. So they were able to execute their big shot plays. Every team's going to try to execute like 4 or 5 shot plays for a big game. Cal was able to get all of them because of the way that they executed, because of the way that defensive backfield was. There was eye candy. There was using Miami's aggressiveness against them. And this one, you have to back up. You have to play disciplined football. You have to ignore your eyes and accept your assignments in this one. The assignments are going to be the most important. I think Miami's front seven has played pretty well, except I know Marigo is probably coming off his worst 2 games as a Hurricane, in my opinion. But hopefully after the bye, he can kind of get back to where he needs to go. DeSantis is playing out of his mind, in my opinion. The defensive line is playing out of their minds. They just really what happened in the Cal game was schemed up. They really schemed a way to go away from the defensive line. So anytime they tried to scheme and get off the defensive line ate. So when if you go back and watch the Cal game, Miami really dominated that game. But it doesn't look like it because Miami was down 25 points at one point and had to force themselves back into it. But Miami outgained them by 200 yards, had 3-1 when it came to first downs. The turnover battle was even in the end. And so, basically the turnovers were both catastrophic for both teams. One ended the game, one almost ended the game because, like I said, that was one of the worst throws I've ever seen. But when it comes down to it, I think if Miami takes care of business, if Miami is able to ignore the eye candy, if Miami is disciplined in the back end, I think Miami can win this game by, a couple touchdowns. But that being said, with everything that goes on with this game and also it being a trap game, no matter what you want to say about it, because Florida State looms, I think it's going to be a tough game. I really do. Like I said, I had them losing this game in my previews before. I'm not going to stick with that. I do think that Miami is a bit better than I thought they were going to be, and I do think that this time the bye is going to help. And I like what I've heard from the camp. I like the players only meeting. I like taking responsibility for the fact they haven't played up to where they need to be, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing what this Miami team does when it steps on the field at 12 Eastern in Louisville. And, I really think that Miami's going to come out swimming. But that being said, crazy things happen when Miami steps on the field, and especially when teams focus everything they want on trying to beat this Miami team. And I'm telling you, Louisville is going to be the desperate team because they need this to stay in the ACC race. And when they need to stay relevancy, if they lose this game, basically you saying goodbye to any type of hope for the playoff. They're not technically, because one of the losses outside of conference, they're not technically disqualified or eliminated, but they lose this game, they're pretty much eliminated because they won't have any type of tiebreaker against Miami. And in my opinion, if you trying to get to the ACC championship game out of one of these 2 teams, you got to win this game. So for me, this is an elimination game for the ACC championship game, and I still have Miami winning ACC championship. So I think Miami needs to win this game, so thus I'm going to change my pick from before to win this game. But you'll see when I do my picks and my recaps next week, we'll still have it. If we win, I'll still have it myself losing it. But, that's how it goes. But tell us what you think. Tell us if you think that Miami's going to win this one going away. Tell us if you think Miami's going to get upset, or, you just kind of waiting to watch the game because, you're trying to recover from the 2 heart attacks that we've had the past couple weeks. So, all right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We will see y'all next week, and we will have another podcast coming up for you soon. All of our podcasts right now are up on Spotify or Apple Music. We love you guys. See you soon.